everything you're saying makes sense. I fully understand why Tony White was upset about it. Makes me upset about it now that I'm hearing it. So I feel bad for whoever presented this information to him. Yeah. I'll say that
I'm assuming Matt Rule presented this information.
And also,
or some stats guy.
That's probably their analyst.
Yes. Another drastic switch was
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Game by day, he gets better and better. He gets better and better. Give me JPB. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
You gonna crack a beer or what?
Oh, why not?
you can't start a show without it.
Fuck.
We're chasing 3 again, but we are talking about Tony White's 3 that he's chasing, third downs. I heard this interview that Sean Callahan and Steve Sipple did on Husker Online podcast.
About a week and a half ago.
Yeah, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. Tony White came on, and it sounded like he had just come from practice or a mat drill or something like that, a meeting, and they were talking about chasing. He was fired up.
Yeah,
he was fired up. He sounded. It was funny because Tony White doesn't get like super animated about anything.
No,
I mean I feel like he probably does behind closed doors, but he's very
publicly he hides it.
Very even keel to the media. Very mild mannered, and always seems to be at least quasi upbeat, like on the better half of 50%. But he seemed mad. He seemed a little fired up, and like third down sucked last year.
Well, he said it. He goes, "I'm really pissed off right now."
Yeah,
it's almost I'm glad you took me away from that.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
And he lightened up a little bit throughout the throughout the interview, and he talked a lot. And it was funny because Sipple kind of seemed to be a little taken aback. He's like, I think he was pissed. I think he was pissed.
Yes.
And so I wanted to address it because while I was listening to the interview, I kind of felt like there were things that they could have asked him or could have at least had prepped if they had known he was going to talk about that stuff, because they didn't have any data. They didn't have any of that stuff. To my knowledge, they haven't followed up on it. And so we wanted to do a show to basically address what Tony White's concerns were about third down, really dive into the numbers. That's what Jed loves to do.
I do.
Nerd alert. This is going to be a data show. So
this is about the defense and not about, field goal kicking.
If you like the big D data, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button.
Never heard somebody say the big T is data.
Data. The big D.
I said big D.
How many beers is this?
I don't know. Subscribe.
So yeah, hit the subscribe button. Comment below if you have any thoughts on how the defense was last year. We think it was pretty awesome, but as we're about to find out, they've got room for improvement. So, Jed, lay it on us.
It was. I saw the same interview, and I agree where it was kind of like he was super upset, but they didn't go any further into it. And I don't necessarily blame them for not going further into it because it seemed like he didn't want to talk about it also, but also they weren't prepared for that. Like,
yeah, that's kind of what I mean was like, it's like, oh, cool, we're getting Tony White on. It's like, okay, what's he going to talk about though?
Yeah. So I went through the play-by-play charts of every single game last year, and I went basically all the third downs from 1 to 3 yards to go, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 plus. And I also calculated them all out, how many times each of those happened, how many times the opponents, and I went offense and defense. So kind of compare what our offense did to what our defense did. How many times they converted those situations, how many yards they gained on those situations, and then the averages, whether it was the percentage of conversion and also yards per attempt on those plays. And one of the big ones is like just in the losses. And I also broke it down in the wins and the losses, not just the total as far as the season. And in the losses themselves, in the combining the 7 to 9 yards and the 10 plus, just in the losses, we allowed basically 33%. It was 32.7% conversion rate on 7 plus yards to go on third down. I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why Tony White was super pissed.
33% on third down sounds like a great number. 33% on third down, 7+ yards.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's third and long. That's tough.
In Nebraska, and I know we had a lot of challenges on offense for Nebraska. Offensively for Nebraska, on 3rd and 7+ yards, we only converted 16.6%.
Pause. Nebraska just went up by 30 points.
They did. So, comparison-wise, we were terrible. Well, and I don't want to say terrible, because you shouldn't convert very many on 3rd and 7+ yards to go.
Yeah.
Just mathematically, it's
tough.
the way it goes.
You don't have a lot of plays in your playbook built for 3rd and 7.
Yeah. And so conversely, in the wins that Nebraska had, the defense allowed only 13.8% conversions on 7+ yards to go.
Now we're only talking about 5 games here.
You're right. But still, the percentage
tremendous
is
difference.
Drastic.
That's a tremendous difference.
And Nebraska had 25% conversion rate on 7+ yards in those 5 wins.
Jesus.
So, I mean, that's actually, I mean, I don't know what the national average is because I'm not going to go through every game of every school.
That's going to be tough, yeah.
I would say 25, a quarter of the time you convert, that's probably pretty good on 7+ yards to go. I wouldn't think that that's necessarily terrible. I don't know if it's really good, but it's not necessarily terrible. But when we do it 25% of the time when we win and the opponents do it 32.7% when they beat us, that's a big difference.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And I love to not to interrupt you, but I absolutely love the fact that it is an accountability thing across the board. This is a stat we can work on.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tony White, your defense was fucking awesome last year.
Yes.
But this is a new year. You haven't done anything. This is where you needed to improve from last year. That's what this sounded like to me. And I love that Tony White was kind of fired up about it. And it wasn't like well, fuck you. My defense was awesome last year. Why are you picking on me? It's I didn't realize this stat was this bad. I'm going to fuck it up. I'm going to fuck this up. Let's go.
Well, and we talked about it a couple of shows ago where, hold on, let me get to that in a second. But same thing with the fans. They want to talk about how great the defense was, and they were top 15 this, and
there's still a lot of room for improvement.
And all of that is accurate.
Yes.
This isn't any part of us saying that the defense was bad. Yes, is some of this a little bit nitpicking, but that's what you do to get better.
Do you think Kirby Smart's not out there looking at every little tiny angle to try and gain a bigger advantage? So that's how you get an elite defense every year.
So the third down stuff here, and also the what we talked about a couple of shows ago, where in crunch time, where every single time the game was a 1-score game or tied for the opponents of Nebraska in those close games, the opponents scored on their final possession. Us, on the other hand, did not. I don't know how many
third downs there were in those drives.
Well, I could tell you, but that'll be whatever. But still, it's just like there are still things that we can get better at, which is kind of a good and scary thing at the same time. Because again, they were really fucking good last year as far as defense goes. But there are things that some people can call it nitpicking, but it's just the process of what it takes to get better.
Is that where you really that's where you identified that that's probably what he was talking about?
I mean, I can't really come up with a whole lot of other stuff. I mean, there was I did some first half and second half situational stuff and things like that. But a lot of it kind of ended up coming out pretty equal. I didn't necessarily break it down by quarter. I just did first half and second half.
I'd be interested to see what that looks like based on an offensive style. Like, is it more affecting us if they're a mobile quarterback? Is it, what maybe is something that could lead to that? Not just wins or losses. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about that. I'm not asking you to try and come up with that crazy stat, but I thought it was interesting that they didn't really dig on, and this is, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they made any sort of mistake or anything like that. I think they do an excellent job with their show. I was like, damn, I kind of want to hear more about why Tony White's so fired up about third downs. Like, ask him the question, what stat are you talking about? Like, what's got you pissed off?
Like, specifically, I'm looking at the Colorado game and the breakdown that I have on this. In the second half of the Colorado game, and we all know that, the game kind of broke open in the second half, or at least the last 3 quarters of the second half, specifically. Colorado had 4 situations where they had 3rd and 10 plus yards to go. They converted on all 4 of those for a total of 110 yards.
Jeez.
Jesus Christ.
So it's like, just
110
get
yards
off the
given
field.
up on 4 plays on third down.
Yes.
That's
and again,
that's
on
rough.
third down of 10 or more yards.
Oof.
Not just third down in general, giving up 110 yards. Of 3rd and 10 or more,
And
they converted all 4 of them and gained 110 yards.
That's what makes me think that this probably has to do with a little bit more of a mobile or escapability of the quarterback. And I wonder if that has anything to do with it being a scheme thing. Because there's only so long that you can cover guys on the back end. And if you've got a quarterback that can get away with, and we're only rushing 3 maybe, Shedeur did that a lot in that game, and that was effective. He did that a lot throughout the season, and that was effective.
Yes, he did.
So I wonder what looks we'll see that'll change that this year, what type of stuff he comes up with that. Because I think what you really have to, if you identify that that's your problem, if you identify that the mobility of the quarterback and the escapability is the issue, because Shedeur's not fast by any means, but neither is Patrick Mahomes.
No.
And Patrick Mahomes gets outside of the pocket, and he's dangerous as fuck.
Yeah,
It doesn't
a mobile
matter.
quarterback doesn't necessarily just mean fast.
Yeah. It's not like it was 10 years ago when you're thinking mobile quarterback, you think Lamar Jackson type. This is more escapability, high-level football intelligence. If you're doing that, I think the way that I don't know what you guys think, but to me that seems like you need to run a little bit more contain, a little less bull rush, a little less let's just get in there, which last year was year 1. They were doing things at a very basic level for this defense. That's the terrifying thing or should be the terrifying thing for anybody that we have to play this year is everybody's going to be next level second year in this defense other than the brand new guys.
Mm-hmm.
Which there aren't many of.
No. And the one that will play this year, he's not brand new to this system.
And one of the other things that I found, as far as our defense, third down percentage allowed, in the month of September, in conference, we were ranked 11th. In the month of October, we were ranked 1st. In the month of November, we were ranked 7th. In just those months by themselves. Now, granted, in the month of October, we had the 3-game winning streak. We only played.
That's
the 3
where we
games.
played our lowest competition.
It was our lowest competition. So you kind of get that up and down there. So also our defensive third down percentage allowed. When we were winning in games, we were 8th in the conference. When we were tied or losing, we were 10th in the conference.
Damn. I didn't know we were that far down there on third down, to be honest with you. Because I felt like third down
as a whole, we were 8th in the conference.
That's what I mean, though. I felt like that third down number was still an improvement over the year before.
It definitely might have been. Our defense was bad the year before.
It's true. That is very true.
I was going to say, I can tell you in just 1 second.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Matt?
Not really. I mean,
it was better. Sorry to interrupt you, Matt, real quickly. We were 42% last year. We were 36.6% this year as a whole. So we were better, but sorry, go ahead.
No, everything you're saying makes sense. I fully understand why Tony White was upset about it. Makes me upset about it now that I'm hearing it. So I feel bad for whoever presented this information to him. Yeah. I'll say that.
I'm assuming Matt Rule presented this information.
And also,
or some stats
that's
guy
probably their analyst.
Another drastic switch was in just your wins in the conference, we were second as far as allowed 3-point conversions. In our losses, we were 9th in the conference.
Yeah.
So again, you bring that more towards the middle, maybe 5th or 6th as far as in your losses. And there's going to be less losses.
Between third downs and turnovers, we could have been really good last year.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at the competition. We didn't win. We didn't win big games last year.
No.
And so it'll be a very different thing to look at because we don't have when you look at our first 7 games this upcoming season, we've got one to 3 teams on there that might challenge us some. One of them happens to be a common opponent that we just talked about, Colorado. Shedeur's still going to be there. Mm-hmm. And Prime actually said this week.
Travis Hunter's still going to be there.
Travis Hunter's still going to be there. And Dion said this week, Oh, Shador's going number 1 in the
He's
draft.
been saying that for a couple months now, but yeah. And he says Travis Hunter is going to go number 2. So
yeah, I think Travis Hunter probably gets drafted higher than him, but
and neither will be in the first round.
Travis Hunter definitely will.
I wanted to bring this up too, and I know
when he gets injured again this year.
Yeah,
that's possible.
This is mostly a defensive issue, is for what we're talking about with the third downs. But offensively for Nebraska, on third downs of 7 to 9 yards to go, we had 18 in our losses. We had 18 situations. We only converted 1 of them.
Holy shit!
And we only gained 19 yards in all of those 18 situations.
Well, if you remember, a lot of those situations, we were running out and we were doing back dive.
Yeah.
Like we were just giving up on it because it was out and we wanted to stay in decent punting situation and we didn't want another turnover.
To think about that, you're giving up on a 3rd and 7 to 9. I understand give up on a 3rd and 12 or
yeah, but how
18,
terrified were the coaches of putting the ball in the air with most of those guys?
You're not wrong.
That's why I'm so excited to see what we're going to see with a quarterback that we will presumably a quarterback that we know is going to take care of the ball, or at least better, and more weapons.
Yep.
And more time. And more everything. It's going to be better.
More everything except turnovers.
Yeah, more everything except turnovers.
Yeah, no, God. Can you get more?
Yes, shut the fuck up, kid.
If you have any other stats, questions, anything else to add to this third down conversation, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
And if you have more than what I looked up, good on you.
Nice.
Fucking nerds.
Looking at you, Emu's dad.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.